Okay, abusuya be makwa abasonko so edeba POG Media so abusuya yembora yensemu no O.Atta afide ne komu ebu OSP abora USA abontin so akwa join USA Investigation Agency FBI for amaisi ano omo investigation kese against Ken O.Atta say omo esanso the latest scandal bi ababebo na abusuya yenso ye de brem yensa emomre no yenko na yenko nkuti ensema ekos na answer na ebeko no owo ensem kan bi afahye your comment section like share my from so answer into me and can be aha POG Media so political trending stories are make waves in yenso ya to me say the brem medamase.
Prosecutor's office has been in touch consistently with you after the KPMG report, also aiding in investigations on this matter. Now, to the extent that the SP has declared Ken O.Atta wanted and a fugitive of justice on this SML case, is the timing also of concern to you, or based on your own correspondence with the SP?
Yes, I must say that's been of concern to me. I have listened to the conversation. If you heard Sammy very well, he said I kept following up and asking because, like everyone else has expressed, the case, in my view, has dead. And I'm saying this as an investigative journalist, and I've said on a number of platforms that investigative journalists do not have the resources and the power of state investigative bodies. So if an investigative journalist takes 1 year to investigate a case, the state institution can take less than that, maybe half a year or less, except in special circumstances that the investigations opens wider. I'm saying this because during this investigation, we wrote to the finance ministry. They did not respond. The GRA say we even invoked the right to information law. We couldn't do beyond that. And we took time. Where we needed an interview, we would request and all of that. If you are a state investigative body, you cannot be denied access to information. You have the power to bring people to be interviewed. You have access to certain documents that an investigative journalist has no power to have those ones. So if we did this investigation and the major issues in that investigation were already out, if anybody cares to look at pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report, they would realize that what we said in the documentary of the company, that's SML's functions and all, have been confirmed. So if you are the OSP and then you have this report, including what we had done, I think it should have been done faster and earlier than this. That notwithstanding, I will not say that it is out of place, that if they have started, they should be stopped. I largely agree with some of the comments that have been made by Martin Pebo and others, but to say that I don't agree that we should follow Ken O.Atta to the United States to interview him. He is a Ghanaian and has to come back to Ghana and go through the process. we have already spent so much money or lost so much money. Through him, we have paid 141 million United States dollars to SML. And after this investigation, I was convinced that this was not a company that should have gotten 1 pesewa from the coffers of the Republic of Ghana. So if you have a finance minister who was nearly killed by COVID-19, he came to the United States of America because the finance minister and then the politicians here were able to build their infrastructure, healthcare system and everything. He came and benefited from that. He survived, comes back, and would even go on to escalate the contract. And I'm saying that the consolidated contract, which was instigated or initiated by Ken Ofori-Atta, and then the GRA in their press statement after our investigation confirmed what we said, that a consolidated contract that the gold mining sector and then the oil production sector should be added to SML. It was Ken Ofori-Atta who initiated that. And at the end of the day, SML was entitled to over $100 million every single year. And the contract said 5 years, renewable for another 5 years. So even if we take the first 5 years, this company was going to get over 500 million United States dollars for something that they were not needed at all. So if somebody does all of that and then you go to Kolebu, sometimes I wonder how our medical personnel survive depression. And then basic equipment, we don't have it. And he is here back in the United States. A medical doctor here has told me that the hospital Ken Ofori-Atta is being treated is one of the best hospitals in the United States. So if he does all of that and comes here, and then we are suggesting that the special prosecutor and the state officials should again buy plane tickets, come and rent hotels, come and spend, and then interview him, I think that I disagree. What I agree with is we cannot catch a witch with physical force. I have listened to Addo recount what members of the Mahama administration went through when Akuffo came into office. Surprisingly, some of these things were never heard until recently. It is very wrong, and I heard him say that they could have been invited to come and write their statements instead of going to or being raided, having their houses raided with guns and all of that. If it was wrong then it should be wrong now. At the end of the day, we should get to a point that state institutions, like he suggested, when you're in government or whatever power you have, we can still do things in a very civil manner, get evidence, and then get people prosecuted. Because I do investigative journalism. I've told you I don't even have the power to summon somebody or force somebody to come for an interview. But we've been able to get evidence that have led to the cancellation of contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of our works have led to successful prosecutions. So I believe that we can have a way of going about this without every 4 or 8 years some people coming to say, oh, this is bad, or you haven't seen it, you did it to us. And he mentioned that a lot of those raids, or whatever you call them, didn't even end in anything. You cannot go use the gun to get some evidence. That's exactly what I'm saying. So to that extent, I think we should look at how to go about such the use of force. But I still believe that in the case of Ken Ofori-Atta, One, the investigation delayed, and Sami Darko will tell you that I mentioned it to him anytime it came up. Because I am, like Martin Pebu said, a staunch supporter of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But I believe that the SML and some of the cases that are being investigated now could have taken those actions a long time ago. And with some of these offenses, the more you delay, the more people may tamper with evidence. Some of the places we visited, the depots and other places we visited in our investigation, as soon as the story aired, we had people from those places, institutions, calling, Manasseh, they are installing some computers here. I believe that these were supposed to have been there to facilitate the contract you people investigated, but they are now bringing it. They are doing ABC here. In one of the instances, I even alerted the OSP. I do not have the power to go and stop anybody or question anybody. If they had moved in earlier, some of these things could have been spotted, and then it would serve their purpose in the investigation.
Very important. The emphasis on timing, especially in at least this SML matter, is one that I put to Sami Darko, that he acknowledged that correspondence with you. Oliver, and this is where I bring you in here, because one thing that Manasseh said, which cannot be underestimated, is the time after an investigation is done. In his case, he gives reference of some actions being taken by the persons cited for the corruption to cover their tracks. And that is expected. So the more you delay, then you would find it more difficult uncovering the said corruption that you are investigating. But the SP says they want to do a thorough job. That's why they're having to take that much time.
I'll go to the question of thoroughness in a bit. But I think one of the things I want to emphasize now is the purpose of the Office of Special Prosecutor. There's no doubt, and I like a lot of what Addo was talking about in terms of what exactly has happened here. That is a lot of hula baloo about. Corruption fights back, and that's what we're seeing. One of the reasons why we set up the Office of the Special Prosecutor is to be able to disarm those who have made the work of the AG difficult whenever actions are taken against certain persons, and say that, okay, perhaps this is a window to depoliticize. It is why it is important that during the lifetime of a government, when allegations have been brought before you, and I must say this even before I go on, that corruption is by current government appointees, not former. The investigation is what we are trying to do after, but it is happening as we speak. So in the lifetime of the OSP, the work that needs to be done to put government appointees on their toll must happen in the life of the government as is going on. Now, when these things have happened and reports have been made to you, to wait after how many years, barely a month after they leave office, and say this is the time I want to invite them, it doesn't speak to the sense and understanding of the purpose of the office and why it is essential in corruption fight that we depoliticize the process and we don't add up to this. Then leads into conversations in Parliament where majority leader is now being invited to apologize for law enforcement actions within the House of Parliament. What are we doing? What are we doing? He does not speak for law enforcement agencies. This is not a political or partisan process.
So that's Mahama.
NBC appointees are not mouthpieces of the OSP's office. They don't have to come and defend actions of the OSP or anything like that. So So
you said that Mahama Yarga's apology on this raid on Kennesaw.
It's absolutely of no moment.
Wasn't necessary.
It's absolutely of no moment. He has no understanding of what has happened. He shouldn't even wade into those conversations. So we should not allow, again, this is why from the very beginning, I was insisting that the Attorney General must speak up on the necessity of the nolle prosequis. Because if we don't do that, we allow certain individuals to parade in this country and then claim some level of moral authority to be able to obfuscate. I myself sitting here, I was arrested over e-levy. I was put in jail and charged with treason over e-levy. What are we talking about?
When was the last time you went to court on that?
I am back in court on Monday on that charge.
That's
the OSP.
Yes. Oh, that one too needs to go.
No. I mean, the Attorney General has spoken to me and given me assurance that he's going to file a null prosecutor in that matter.
It has to go.
And that he has determined those charges to be baseless. I mean, a class 1 people can tell you it was. In fact, for 3 years, no step has been taken on that matter. So people have weaponized our judicial system. And we say we don't, you were talking about opening the Pandora's box. Yes, we must open the box. We must allow Ghanaians to see what has happened over the past few years. Because, what we have had is a regime that was committed to destroying our democracy. Absolutely what has happened over the past few years. And we must hold people accountable for it. This is not a time to come and blow on people's emotions and sentiment, trauma, and what are you talking about? Somebody, you have been investigated to answer a question. Why are we not coming to play on semantics? So work has to be done. And if you are coming to be stop and start and be calling for apology because a Ghanaian citizen is being invited by an investigative authority, what are we talking about here? So for me, the OSP must understand its role, that it has in fact fed into this. If they took them on from the beginning and let heaven fall, whatever that the president was intending to do, even now, there are officials of the Trump administration, even appointed by the Trump administration, who are resigning because of things that the Trump administration is asking them to do. So if the finance minister and other people were obstructing you thought that they were obstructing your work, you have to talk about it for Ghanaians, to elicit Ghanaian support in this fight. We Ghanaians want to support the institutions that fight corruption because we know that there are powerful forces at play. We want to be able to help support that. But if you wait in this moment and after they have changed power and come to feed into this narrative as if somebody is being persecuted, it's unhelpful to the work that has to be done. So yes, delays must be acknowledged and apologized for. Let us not always put up this posture that no, everything is fine, we will always investigate. How many people have you invited to even in this matter? And let us be clear. And I like that, Martin has talked about this Charles Odubuahi matter and the ways in which he was cleared by the OSP. It was completely unethical in my view. This thing, we debated it at length. Yes, we have put up an institution that we all support. But when they make mistakes, we must also be able to point out that mistake is inappropriate. So far, I want to know what senior official throughout the 8 years of the former administration, of the Addo administration, was brought to book by the OSP. Just one. Absolutely nobody. So yes, so the questions that we must answer, because even if we are supporting an institution, we must also be ready to be able to critique that institution in the process. So the job done on Cecilia Adapa was not sufficient enough?
What job was done on
Cecilia Adapa? I mean, I'm talking about the special prosecutor.
No, what job was done on Cecilia Adapa? What has happened? What has happened?
Okay, for minimalists like us, she lost her office. I like the word minimalism.
No, the president said that. The president said, she said, I am resigning. The president said, I have accepted your resignation and I know you will clear your name.
And until date, her name is done.
What are you talking?
She's gone. So it's something.
So yes, there's a lot that has to happen. And the lot has to happen in the manner in which it is structured. I am, in fact, even in terms of how we review and how we go about the opal and oral, that I'm calling it a restructuring of certain agencies. I would even be interested in combining the OSP and the Yoko offices. That we have to be able to they have to do more, to reorganize a lot of these institutions that have competing powers. And some says I started it and I gave it to you, and another person has shelved it. We have to reorganize the process.
Well, so you that call for the AG to give the explanation for the case he discontinued, he said was right. He heeded to that call, but as Edwige Tamaklo predicted, he's opened himself up for scrutiny because those reasons given are now subject of legal scrutiny.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. If you misinformation thrives in silence, I'm talking about, because in the absence of free talking about it, in the absence of Senior Kadio, Edwige himself, now talking about some of the things that have happened, Ghanaians will not be better appreciated and better informed on what is going on. We would only just take it that, he's come, and as they are doing and running about town claiming that somebody has been cleared. In fact, after Damit gave his press conference, The fourth estate has published a fact check on some of the things they're saying that is absolutely false, what he's talking about. So you have to give people the rope. Give them the rope and let them come and speak. And then you take them on. There's a lot more that has to be revealed. We're not even there yet. Because Ghanaians need to understand the regime that was put in place. So that when a Ghanaian voter goes next time, you understand that this regime, even if it's 20 years, account has to be taken for what has been done. We've talked about how they've set this country back for decades. We have to understand why. Most people don't understand what has happened in this country. So this is what I feel that the information is helpful for our democracy. Ghanaians are mature people. Don't then take it that, okay, let sleeping dogs lie. And let us not allow the window to be opened up on some of the things that have happened over there. No, I disagree. I disagree. Because a lot of these things are stomach churning. So let us put the facts out for everybody to see what has happened. And he go for a damage himself. I'm surprised he still has a license, to be honest.
Well, talking about the putting the facts out, I promised you that we're going to have some exclusive detail on this National Service ghost names. So stay with us. It's coming up here on Key Point. Suleiman Abrahima, the man together with his team who did this investigation, is with us in the studio. He's going to be joining us in a bit, but he's seated already, and we'll show you detail, because he's going to do a detailed PowerPoint presentation of that investigation. Some of the detail that you haven't even heard as yet, we'll give it to you this morning. But let's hear from Dr. Dominic Ayeni on just...
Okay, Abusia Winnie and Sima Ekoso, our political highway, so OSP. Akuffo US abontin so any investigations na O.Atta HSA ofri US badiana ordinate na or baby face jail term mabusu abeda masese moje pene kokoti za audio we edemai aha POG Media so beda masese.